Last month I threw a Disney villains tea party, and here's how to paint Disney villains. We painted these on walnut hollow wood rounds at the party, and today I'm going to share with you how to do that at home. What you need is a walnut hollow basswood country round. You can get these at the craft store, a foam paintbrush, Acrylic Decoupage medium, and a villains coloring book. You also need some paint and a Sharpie marker, also some book pages. So you're going to pull out whatever page you want from the coloring book, and then you're going to trim around that loosely with a pair of scissors. We're going to decoupage this, so you don't need to worry about it being super exact. Then you'll use a craft knife to cut some pages out of a dictionary or an old book. Lay your cutout on the wood round, trace it with a pencil, and then we're just going to decoupage some pieces of the book paper around the area that the coloring book page would be on. So we don't want to have a bunch of the chunky book page pieces underneath the coloring book image, because the coloring book paper is really thin, and that makes it hard to paint it later. So once you have all your little papers around the edges, you'll put your coloring book page piece back in the middle with some decoupage medium, and then use some little pieces of book paper to cover up any edges that are showing too much, like around the border of your image. Once that's dry, you're going to go ahead and start painting. So you want to use an acrylic paint because it's super easy to use and it's water-based. And here I'm using a color that's a flesh tone color from Deco Art. And you can use that acrylic paint. I use a lot of Deco Art acrylic paint on this project. Now, if you want to do more than one coat of the skin color, you can. I also use some gold. This is a metallic gold paint to paint the crown, and you'll notice that as I'm painting over the parts of the coloring book image, the black lines are fading. That's totally okay because the paint is covering up the lines. We're going to add those back in later with that Sharpie marker that I said that you're going to need. Next, I'm using some Deco Art Media line acrylic paint. Now this paint is really cool because as you add more water to it, it gets to be a little bit lighter. So you can see over there on my little piece of chipboard that I'm using as a palette, it looks almost black. And as I add water to it, it kind of fades. And this gives you the very dimensional type of color for things like a more real life look. So as I add more water, it's going to be more faded, and that gives this little headpiece some more dimension on my evil queen. Next, I'm going to add some white acrylic paint for the cape, and what I'm doing is using a image on my phone, which you can't see in the picture, but I'm using an image on my phone to as a guide. So I just searched whatever villain it was. So this one was the evil queen. So I could see what colors all the different pieces of her outfit should be. Next, I'm using a paintbrush to add the whites of her eyes. And then later I'll go in and add the green. And then I'm using some red to add the color for the lips. You want a very, very fine paintbrush to do this. Now, if you do make a mistake, you can always paint back over it. You want to let that dry first and then go in with your paint, with your other color of paint to fix it. So here again, I'm using more of that Deco Art Media line paint. This is from their mixed media line. Again, you're seeing how by adding water, I'm getting that very pigmented color to spread around and get a really nice effect on that evil queen's cape. So I'm just continuing to add the different colors here. And then I decided to start painting the dress. And I tried it with this one color and I was like, I didn't like how that color looked. So what's nice about using acrylic paints is that you can also cover things up. They dry fairly quickly. The drier your climate, the faster they'll dry. So because I live in a very dry climate, these dry super, super fast. So I tried some of that lavender color and that was too light. So I ended up blending it with some of the Deco Art color to make a new color. And then I colored the entire body in with that. And I can very faintly see the lines of the coloring book page outline, and I'll again color that in with my Sharpie marker. So here I'm just adding some more accents to the lips, coloring in the amulet on the cape there, and continuing on some of the lines. And again, because I'm going to use that Sharpie, it's okay if some of these lines are a little bit messy because I can fix it when I go to do the outline. So next I'm using some iridescent green paint for the eyes. This is Lumiere, I don't always say it wrong, like a metallic paint for the eyes. And then I'm going to do some eyeshadow with some of that lighter color of the acrylic paint. Now keep a paper towel or a napkin handy so that you can blot away any paint if you do make an error or you put too much. Like I put way too much water on there and then it started messing with the eyeball. It was bad, so I blotted it. You can see how much moisture is on the napkin. You don't want to have that much water on there. So again, you can see I blotted off and then I put more and then I blotted off, and you can continue doing that until you get the look that you want. Now you'll want to let that dry, and then once everything's super dry, because you don't want to mess up your Sharpie marker, you want a brand new, nice and sharp Sharpie marker. So you don't want an old one where the bullet tip is all smushed in and wide. You want a nice, crisp, new marker. So you're going to outline all of the lines where the coloring book lines were, and you can pretty easily see them through the paint. The only part of the paint that I can't see the lines through is that Deco Art Media line paint, and that's because that was such a dark color. But there's really no lines in there to even be looked at. So I'm going to outline the crown and all around the face and the eyes. And so that's why you want this to be a nice sharp marker, because if it was a blunt end marker, you would have like all these weird like fat blobby lines around the eyes, and we don't want to have that. Now I made a little bit of boo-boo on the face when I was tracing it. I made the line a little bit wide, but because this is a cartoon, it's very, very forgiving. And you can do the same technique with any coloring book page. So say you wanted to do My Little Pony or some other cartoon character, just get a coloring book page, cut it out, decoupage it on, and it will look like you totally painted it when you really didn't. Or I mean, you guess you painted over the coloring book page. So it's a really fun way to make your own custom art without having to try to draw freehand. Or if you're trying to learn how to draw freehand, it's a great way for you to learn. So then I also added a little bit of red to that crown, and there she is, all finished and ready to go. Now here's another picture of the group of us. We all did different villains at the tea party. So I hope you enjoyed that. Click that link to my blog to go see the tea party recap, and click any of those other videos to watch some of our other projects. Bye!